Skinamarink is a rare and unique horror film, one we haven't seen before, but one I don't think will be emulated to the extent of other films like Halloween, Night of the Living Dead, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a horror film whose roots are in the experimental art house scene of the 70s and 80s. Chantal Akerman's films like I, You, She, He, and Jeanne Dielman were major influences to how this film was crafted. Directors like Michael Snow and Michelle Haneke echo in this film's style and pacing. Kyle Edward Ball is also this film's writer and editor. With a minute crew and a cast of only 4 people, this is a truly independent film. With a budget of only $15,000, somehow Kyle Edward Ball and company were able to create a film no one has seen before. The film's major success on its theater circuit is further proof that Hollywood studio execs need to be taking more risks in which movies they finance and produce. This $15,000 film will be watched and talked about for the foreseeable future, while some $200 million big studio films will be forgotten in just a few weeks. In all honesty, this movie should not have been the success that it is. It's borderline inaccessible narratively, yet visually it's so fresh and unique. How can you tear your eyes away from the screen? This is yet another example in how we should take risks that will undoubtedly be ignored by studio heads. Or even worse, misinterpreted to the point where all of the aspects which made it so unique and powerful are nowhere to be found. The film's plot is simple. It follows 2 children who wake up in the middle of the night to find all the doors and windows in their home have disappeared, along with their father. The kids decide to hunker down in the living room and have a sleepover type situation to help calm their nerves, but soon an entity starts making itself known to them and things begin to get very dark. Skinamarink has a very love it or hate it audience reaction. I don't think the film's style lent itself to its slightly longer than preferred runtime, but it's completely engrossing when it needs to be. One scene in particular features the camera becoming the subjective view of one of the children, who goes into their parents' bedroom to find what may or may not be their father sitting on the edge of the bed. My heart was racing. I could barely look at the screen, and I wanted to turn the movie off. For a horror movie, I think that is one of the highest pieces of praise I can give it, and I'm gladly going to give it to this film. The film's perfect audio design and the cinematography by Jamie McRae created an atmosphere that was almost unbearable to watch. McRae used the Sony FX6 and a set of wide-angle ARRI lenses to capture the warped images of the director's own parents' home. With only a television as a light source, the filmmakers opted to boost the ISO, or the sensitivity of the camera's sensor to light, to a whopping 50,000. To compare, typically the ISO setting on a camera is only 800. This created the digital grain that serves to enhance the horror going on inside this cursed house. The film is colored and graded to look like a piece of celluloid that's been ignored and left in an unsafe environment for an unknown amount of time, like a lost film pulled out of an attic. The colors are faded, yet the image is heavily contrasted, like a half-remembered dream where the lingering feeling of horror is all that remains. The film's audio landscape features constant hissing from the audio track, with pops and crackles everywhere, and all the dialogue has been rendered almost inaudible, necessitating subtitles. Another creative and effective way to keep the audience's eyes on the screen. We're given so little information that any piece of dialogue could help us put this puzzle together, yet we also run the risk of seeing something really terrifying. Kyle Edward Ball's editing is also wildly effective throughout the film. Some cuts made me jump, which is something that rarely happens to me. I can only think of a scene from Park Chan-wook's Lady Vengeance that gave me the same visceral effect from a simple cut. The film is almost too long at 100 minutes. It could have stood to have some fat trimmed in a couple scenes in the second act, and I believe that the film would have had a perfect finale if it ended 10 minutes earlier. But the ending that we do get was effective and thought-provoking. If you're on the fence about Skinamarink, I say give the film a shot. The worst that could happen is you turn it off halfway through and you'll forget about it, but I think you will get a truly horrific experience watching this film. The best way to watch Skinamarink is with all the lights off and your phone as far away from you as possible. Give this film your full attention and it will reward you with a nightmare. I believe this film will go down as a cult classic that people will use to scare their friends for years to come, and Kyle Edward Ball has a fruitful future of making films in front of him.